Hello, everybody. Just want to go through a quick set of slides here with everybody to show you what the team at SA Mormon and Company has done with our hollow metal frame welding department and some of the improvements that we've done going from a table laying parts out like typically would be done in a hollow metal shop to something that we like to call the flip fixture. So I'm going to run through this quick, and if you have any questions, please give me a call. My contact info is on the last slide. So hollow metal shop in 2025, pretty typical layout with a hollow metal frame components. Clamp the head on, get the parts flat. Moving on to clamp the jambs together, weld the four corners to try to get the jamb and the header flat and clean to each other. And then you weld the A surface or the outside surface with a nice big caterpillar that you see there. This original system, we were around 10 minutes, 22 seconds with one person, our best welder, one welding table, parts all being pre-staged, and this doesn't include loading and unloading time and placing the parts in a finish rack. It also doesn't include some of the prep time. Typically, we would get 6 to 10 frames per hour, depending on which welder we were working with. So we were like, how do we get about this and how do we go forward? What do we want to improve on? So we quiz the team on what are the things that are going right and what are the things that are going wrong. And this is a short list of what they came up with. We were getting rejects for finishing and scratches that were being put out in the field. We were getting squeezed for internal lead times where people wanted their frames. We could sell more, but we just didn't have the capacity internally. We wanted it to be easier for one person to be able to flip some of the longer frames over instead of having two people that run on each job when we had the 8-footer in taller frames. We ultimately wanted to save some time to see if we could make this faster. We wanted to improve the number of scratches on the frames and improve the frame squareness. Even though we didn't get many rejections from customers, we knew that this was a challenge for us and it took time for us to get it done well. We could never tell if a frame component was warped or twisted until after we welded it. And so it was like, hey, Ken, is there a way we can do this in the future? And ultimately, we're trying to get away from the struggle of how do we continue to find qualified welders? Is there a way to have the same number of qualified welders and scale the department to do many more frames in a week or a month or a year? So some of the things that had come up, I started working with an outside shop, and like, okay, if we want to flip it, we got to get to a zero gravity situation so people can turn it easily. We want a clutch to hold position if somebody wanted to put it into a different position to weld in a better location for themselves. We also wanted this fixture to not be used for one frame. So what our team did was to do a study on the three-sided frames that we welded over the year previous, and we took our top 5 sizes and we designed and developed this fixture to run those top 5 sizes in this fixture. The clamps themselves here are to hold the parts square and plumb, and if there's any twist in the frames, it would be noticeable. And then we're moving on. So that's what we asked the fixture shop to design and develop. And then this came back. This is an image of the 2 gentlemen that work at the shop where we had this done, showing you that if they pull the pin, they can move these plates out, which ultimately gets us to the 4 different sizes of frames.
Huh? Talk to me.
You can see how easy that slides. It's a THK rail with some bearings.
If you want to go to the next size, pull a pin. Is there
Pretty
one more
simple.
size or is that it?
So then we ran that fixture in the shop for a few weeks, And then we said, okay, what do we like about it? What do we want to improve on it? These are things that the team wanted to improve on. We wanted to add a quick change if we could do a 4-inch header, because that fixture was originally made for a 2-inch header. We wanted to rebalance the pivot because it just was a little bit off balance and we had a little bit of whip to the fixture when we rotated it. Ultimately, we wanted to lighten the fixture if we could to remove some of the aluminum. The airline that was on there, obviously airlines are typically plastic or PVC or something, and as we had weld BBs fall around, those did get on the airlines and create air leaks, so we wanted to clad that. We also identified that where we had the clamps wasn't the best and most efficient place to hold down the parts, so we had the clamps moved out and moved away from the corners to give our welders a little bit more clearance. All right, so then we went on to the additional improvements here, and some of the things that the fixture shop did for us was they allowed us to go to that 4-inch header, and then they put this very, very simple, very unique slide over feature. So we go from a 4-inch header to a 2-inch header in about 7 seconds per side. It takes about 14 seconds total. They also gave us a heads up and said, hey, you're probably going to want your tools really close by. So use some magnets, hang your tools real close, because then you don't need a 5S board. And then this little area here that you see where the yellow paint is scratched off, that was purposefully not painted so that we could use our magnetic ground for the welder. And then you can stop the video here and jump into the current state video where you can see the improvements in the team going forward. The other things that this fixture allowed us to do, because we're welding on the inside, is allowed our finishing team to chime in and really give some great feedback on what they can do. So instead of 42 seconds per weld to grind this old style down, welding on the surface, and then 21 minutes of frame, because we had, not only do we have to grind the weld down, then we had to use more Bondo to cover the pinholes and the porosity that was there. The Bondo was an added step that took a long time to dry. And then on top of that, we would sometimes use the red putty to also let that frame be in a position so that we could prime it. Today, we're really happy to tell everybody that we're at about 19 seconds per weld to grind, knowing that we weld on the inside of the frame. The outside needs very little grinding, more needs finishing and polishing, and the average time per frame to finish completely is about 12 minutes now when we use Bondo, but we don't always use Bondo. Here's some examples of some corners where there's no Bondo needed at all, and then on the right side, that's a good example of when we grind down the outside or finish the outside, that we use very little red putty, which also dries a little bit quicker than Bondo. So again, just ways to speed up the process here. Summary of improvements. Obviously, there's a handful of things here, and as you looked at the video, you could probably even pick out some additional ways that we can make improvements. But this is a work in process. We want the team to come up with the ideas and let the team be motivated and accountable to continuous improvement themselves, instead of just having it be like a top-down approach. So far, we are able to run the table with one person or two people and still get better parts out in a quicker number of seconds. We definitely improved the squareness of our parts with no extra time, and we removed all the squares and extra tools that we needed to do that. We improved the scratches because it's only captured in 6 places now, 2 on each side with those bronze fixtures, and then 2 on the header. So most of the part never even touches the surface, which is wonderful. Our part fit up and part fit up consistency is improved, which ultimately allows our welders to weld more accurately and less wandering. When you run this fixture with 2 people, it allows both people to stay fresh. As you can see in that video, There's one person doing the material handling and one person doing the welding. And if you get on a rotation schedule, whether that's every 45 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours, keeps both people fresh and moving throughout the day, which is wonderful. Ease to flip the frames. Also in that video, I hope you saw that frame was almost effortless to rotate that frame and get to the back side and the front side as we needed to. The team is healthier because we are rotating positions and team members. The headers and jams that don't meet print. So if your header or your jam is skewed or twisted in any way, they will not go into this fixture without effort and a hammer. And we have already caught some of those errors and issues from our supply base. And ultimately some higher throughput. Finishing. Oops. Finishing also made their improvements as we talked about in the previous slide, with less dust, less Bondo, less stuff out there all the time. And then ultimately on the back slide here, the contact information if you'd like to get a hold of Highland Fixture. They are wide open. Dave Quaker is their owner. There's his contact information. And then if anybody has any questions for me or anything that they'd like to share or have questions about, please don't hesitate to give me a call or email. I'm wide open to helping out anybody I can. So that is it. Appreciate your time, and we'll be talking soon.